The last section of the ongoing campaign I'm running ended with the players deciding they were going to do a jailbreak. I'm Michael from Night Noon Games, and today we're going to design a dungeon to be used for that jailbreak. So let's get going. As you can see, I've got a dice tray here, some dice. I've got my Shadowdark core rulebook, and then I recently bought this pad of graph paper that I just got on Amazon. So nothing too crazy. I'm going to try my best to adhere to the principles of a 5-room dungeon format. And that is, room 1 is the entrance and guardian, room 2, puzzle or role-playing challenge, room 3, trick or setback, room 4, climax, big battle, or conflict, and then room 5, reward, revelation, plot, and twist. If you want more information on 5-room dungeons, I'll have a link down in the description below where you can read up on the idea. Now, of course, a 5-room dungeon is a bit of a misnomer because those rooms can represent any areas, really. So room 2, puzzle or role-playing challenge, might actually take up 2 to 3 rooms. But we're going to use the help of the Shadowdark rules, which will guide us along the way. And will tell us just how many rooms our dungeon is going to have. So I'm going to open up to those rules, which I believe I bookmarked on page 130. Roll or choose a site size and type. Then take the number of dice listed for the dungeon size and roll them together on a blank sheet of paper. So that's where we're going to start. We know this prison is in the seat of power for the city of Mirkos, which is the government buildings in town, but also the Lord's mansion's there. So I imagine that the mansion is going to be up on top of a hill, and then the prison nearby is going to be at the bottom of that hill. So the dungeon itself is actually going to be a bit into that hill, and that might be able to make some interesting connections for us. If you want to find out more about the city of Mirkos, you can watch the world building videos that I have linked up in the corner of the screen, and then, of course, down below. So I'm going to say that this site type is deep tunnels. I guess they're not deep, but they definitely are going to be underground tunnels, maybe mixed in with some cave if we need to. So now that we've chosen the site type, I'm going to roll for the site size. I'm going to roll a d6, and it'll determine what we get there. All right, d6, and it is a 5. So this is going to be a medium dungeon, which is going to take 8d10. And what we're going to do is roll them on this piece of paper, and that's going to determine what the layout of the dungeon looks like. I'll just move these back over here. Now that we've rolled these, we're going to take note of the positioning and the number of each of them. Great. So we have the layout. So now I'm going to be looking at what each of these die rolls meant, because the number on each die, which I wrote down, 4, 4, 4, 6, and so on, determines what is in that area. So we know that the 4s are going to be a minor hazard. And we know that sections 1, 2, and 3 are all 4s. So they're all going to be minor hazards. Then we have section 4 is a 6 and 5 is a 7. So 4 is going to be NPC and 7 is going to be monster mob. Then we know that 6 is going to be empty, 7 is going to be a trap, and 8 is going to be a major hazard. We also know from the rules that the site's overall objective or boss monster is located in the room with the highest room type roll. So we know that not only will 8 have the major hazard, but will also have the objective. So I think that that is going to be where the prisoners that the group is looking for are being kept. Then we finally roll for the dungeon's overall danger level. It's a 4, so we know that it's going to be risky. Danger level in Shadowdark impacts how often you are rolling for random encounters. So we'll be rolling them a little more often since it's risky. The next item is to help determine what these things are in each room. For instance, we know area 1 is a random hazard, but what is that random hazard? So luckily, Shadowdark provides a lot of awesome tables, and we're going to use these tables to understand each section in this jail. First, we're going to roll for these 3 minor hazards. We'll roll a d6 on each of these 3 here. So we've got a 6, a 5, and a 2. So 6, enfeebling magic. And then the 5 is collapsing walls. And then the 3 is stuck or locked barrier. Then on to the NPC table for number 4. This one is again a d6 for another 5. Wounded. Then a monster mob for area 5. This table has 2 lists, so we're going to roll 2d6 to get a 3 and a 2. So reckless minions. And to me, I think that probably means prison guards or something like that. But we'll find out. 6 is empty, so we don't need to roll anything for that, at least for the time being. 7 is trap. Again, that's 2d6s. For 1 and 5, crude, magical. And then the major hazard, just 1d6 this time. For 4, entrapping terrain. Well, I would hope so since this is a prison, but we'll see what else that might mean. So let's go about fleshing this out a little bit more. We have the rough layout of the dungeon here. Again, we haven't even connected these rooms. These are just bubbles where the dice landed. My first thought for the layout of this, now that there's essentially 4 rooms right here, 3 minor hazards, and then an NPC who is wounded, I think we should put the entrance to this dungeon sort of like right down here. So I'm just going to start sketching that in. The scale that I'll be using is each of these squares, which is 1/4 of an inch on this sheet, is going to be the equivalent of 5 feet on the map. This is going to be the entrance to the prison. In the back, we're probably going to have a few cells. And this area sort of matches with section 6 here. So section 6 is actually going to be in one of these cells. We know there's going to be a wounded NPC in there. So let's roll that NPC now because it might inform some of the decisions we make later on in the dungeon. Again, I'll be using the Shadowdark core rule. We need a D12, a D8, and 2D6. So we rolled up a 9, 7, 2, and 1. So this is a halfling, elderly, lawful, and poor. And if we roll 3d20s, we can check their qualities as well. 1, 2, and 14. Balding, always eating, and can smell lies. That's fun. And then we can also roll for their occupation. So I'm going to roll 2d4. For a 4 and a 1, the Gravedigger. This is great because if you've seen any of the other world building videos about the city of Mirkos, we know that there is a graveyard in the southern low district of the city, and the caretaker there is Vig the Goblin. Now, Vig only has one eye, and the reason for that is he was caught stealing from the bodies that he was interring there. So I think that this person, this other Gravedigger character, worked with Vig, and he got busted for doing the same thing. I think that makes a lot of sense. So let's find out what this halfling's name is. We could use the NPC names by syllables table, but this time around, I think I'm just going to use the name by ancestry table. So all that is 1d20. And it's a 9. Willy, the wounded halfling. So we know that the NPC who's going to be in one of these prison cells is Willy, the wounded halfling. Elderly, lawful, poor, balding, always eating, and smells lies. So that's where Willy's going to be here. And for the time being, I'm just going to mark this as section 4. So we know that Willy's going to be in one of these prison cells. I'm going to say in this first room, there's going to be 1d4 prison guards. So we know in the jail, the main area of the jail, there's going to be 1d4 prison guards. And then, of course, Willy in cell. The real question is, and I think something that Willy knows is he knows that there is some sort of people seem to be coming and going from the 4th cell more often than they should be. That's going to be a secret that Willy has. People are going to be coming and going from the 4th cell. And that's going to be because there is a secret entrance down here. This section here, section 3, which we have as being a minor hazard, a stuck or locked barrier. So clearly this is going to be the secret entrance to what I think are going to be these hallways of the dungeon. The first section of this 5-room dungeon is done because we know that this is going to be the entrance with the guardian. So we know there's going to be 1d4 prison guards in this area. And then that moves us on to number 2, a puzzle or role-playing challenge. I think that we have a little bit of both because we're going to be role-playing with Willy probably and get some more information out here. And then there's this puzzle. So I imagine that each of these cells have sliding bars that slide in and out, right? This will only open if these bars are slidden all the way in so that it is open all the way. This one will need to be open halfway and this one will need to be closed. So that's the puzzle there and the answer to this minor hazard stuck or locked barrier. So the passageway opens when cell 4 is all the way open, cell 3 is halfway open, and cell 2 is closed. We can get some more information from Willy because Willy will also know that guards seem to open and close cells for no reason. Maybe with a little investigation or something like that, the players can determine the special order that these have to be open and closed in. That then doesn't magically open this door, but it would unlock it or whatever. So it could be traversed back and forth. So that means we have taken care of this minor hazard that is stuck or locked barrier. Excellent. I think we're cruising. Let's see. To each edge of here, we know that there is 2 more minor hazards. One of them has enfeebling magic, and one of them has collapsing walls. So I think with the collapsing walls, this one is going to be a tunnel that's off to the edge of, we kind of said this is sort of against the base of a mountain. We're going to say the mountain's edge would be like here or something. Not really a mountain, but a hill. And there's going to be this entrance, which splits into a Y here. There's going to be a path here that leads to an old entrance that's disguised as a sewer, but that has collapsed in and being taken over by rubble. So essentially this, we're moving to kind of over here, which mechanically I think is not a big deal. So minor hazard, collapsing walls, end of secret tunnel disguised as sewer that has collapsed and been sealed. So that's just sort of a fun little detour there, and that takes care of this here. So essentially that's going to be a dead end. Next up, we have a minor hazard, which is enfeebling magic. And we know that's going to be somewhere in this area. Well, actually, I think if this is enfeebling magic, it's sort of a jail or a prison here, I think that there might be some sort of magical spell on this area that prevents magic users from using their magic. It's not going to completely prevent magic users, but it's going to make it harder because you don't want to be putting a magic user in prison here and just having them be able to escape easily. So I'm going to say the room has an anti-magic field. Increase spell check DC by 3. So it's not going to make it impossible to cast magic, but it is going to make it more difficult. And also critical failure on 1 or 2, which can just kind of up the stakes a little bit there. So that is this enfeebling magic field that is around this. I think that might just be something that's permanent. I don't know if that's necessarily something that could be stopped, but I guess if the adventurers come up with an idea, we can see how it plays out. So we've taken care of the first 4 of the D10s that we rolled to lay out the dungeon. Minor hazard, minor hazard, minor hazard, and a wounded NPC. Next up, we have the monster mob, which we put right here. And then close to it, we have an empty room. At some point through these winding hallways, it's going to enter into a barracks area. And this will be where there are beds, bunks, and things like that. And then a toilet, and a door that opens into a kitchen and dining area with 2 tables for dining, and then a kitchen where things get made. We know this area is going to contain a monster mob. So I think that we have to make this be 2d4. Is sailors an option? Sailors or pirates? We're going to use the pirate stat block because they're level 1. And we know that these guys all came in on that boat. So I think it makes sense that they're pirates. So the monster mob area is going to have 2d4 pirates. We're just using the pirate stat block as a stand-in. I think it makes a lot of sense for these guys. Even though this area is going to be empty, I'm going to have maybe half the villains be in there. So I'm going to change it to 1d4 pirates. And even though we said this top space is empty, 1d4. We'll go to room 5, if noisy. So essentially this trigger setback here is going to be this monster mob. Great. Next, we know that there is some sort of a trap that is both crude and magical. So I actually think that this trap is going to tie in with this, what is a dead end over here. So over here, I think that players are going to be able to see footsteps that come in the direction leading away from the collapsed area. And they're going to wonder why there are footsteps here. And that's because there's going to be a crude magical trap over here. So let's draw this out and then I'll explain what I'm thinking. And I think I'm going to tie this into the trigger setback as well. So this will lead to 2 more jail cells where there'll be prisoners. And the prisoners that they're looking for in this jailbreak are good guys, essentially. They're people that could help smuggle some medical supplies to the city of Trethel, where it is desperately needed, but where the new city leaders of Mirkos don't want there to be free distribution of food, medicine, that kind of thing. So this is where at least I think there's going to be 2 of the members of the freedom fighters here, but they're going to say, hey, there are more of us in here. It's not just us 2. And the interesting things about these 2 paths here and here is there's going to be a crude magical teleportation spell. So as you're walking down these hallways, they suddenly turn a little less hewn, like this is here, and you finally appear at the end of this hallway. So if you just are walking and walking and walking, suddenly you're going to find yourself back here. And so you can't go this way, you can't go this way, because you end up back here. But if you take this third route, then you'll be able to find 8, which is a major hazard and is also the prisoner location. And we know that's in entrapping terrain. Actually, I think what's going to happen is these 2 prisoners are going to say, there were more prisoners. There were more prisoners with us. And one of the cells is going to be open. It's because 2 people escaped and they don't know what happened to them. They were going to go get help, and that was days ago. So this entrapping terrain is actually going to be a type of trap, which I will roll for. Entrapping terrain. So I think that's kind of more entrapping. Why am I saying entrapping? Entrapping terrain, I think, is more of a hazard than it is a trap necessarily. So let's see. I think it's definitely with the movement. Let's just roll for a movement hazard and see what happens. I'm not even commit to going to it. I just want to give it a try. 8. Rushing water. So I think that if this major hazard is a prison and it's entrapping terrain, it is like another jail cell. So the crude, magical, going down one of the 2 paths to the left magically transports you to walking in from the area to dead end. So we have that settled. Now this is eventually going to loop around. We're going to come to another hallway of prison cells. What's going to happen here is there is a pressure plate that runs the length of these 2. And if that pressure plate is triggered, these bars fall down. And then we're going to have our 2 missing dudes in these 2 cells here. They were recaptured. Okay, now I actually have a better idea. So here's how we're going to do it. There's going to be a door here and then 2 cells, but it looks like these cells have been repurposed as an armory. So this cell is going to have more of a treasury. It'll be a locked box there. And here there'll be 2 swords hanging from the ceilings and maybe a shield from the wall. So these are treasury and an armory. And the pressure plate in front of these goods. And then this one is designed so that if a chest opens, so if that's triggered or this is triggered, the bars will close here. And those people somehow have to find a way out. Probably just through like lock picking or something like that. I'll make the DC a little tough so that it's more difficult. But at least in this campaign, there's a thief. So the thief will get to use their tools. And then past this door, there's going to be the 2 prisoners who were captured and put back in here. So that's going to be the major hazard to cells with gold and weapons. And I think that needs to be beefed up a little bit. So if either of these are triggered, there's going to be sleeping gas. I'm just going to say, if the gas seeps out, those in cell 15 con per turn are put to sleep. And then out of cell, it's not going to be concentrated enough. All right. So there's sleeping gas here and here that would put anyone in these rooms to sleep. And then there's a hallway, and then they can find the 2 adventurers there. If they look closely at this door, they're going to find another secret door. And this secret door is actually going to lead to a staircase that opens up into the bottom of the mansion, which I think I'm going to use a Dyson's logos map for that because I don't want to make an entire mansion. So this still has to be the main point of contact though, right? And because this is room 4, Climax, big battle or conflict. So I actually think this is going to be a little bit longer. These guys are going to come from what is a secret door over here, and there's going to be some beefier guys. So let's crack open the book. Hey, you want an archmage? Or does that be too powerful? Do you know what? We haven't used an animated armor yet, so let's have there be a suit of armor here in the armory. Do you know what? I'm going to do that instead of having this be an armory, because I don't need to load up the PCs with too many weapons right now. We're just going to have this be a suit of knight's armor. And if the armor is disturbed, if the gas is triggered, the armor will wake up. Animated armor, what level is that? The armor is 2. So I think the armor is going to animate, and when that happens, something's going to be triggered, and the bandits are going to hear the commotion. So I think what's going to happen then is that there's going to be 1d4 bandits and 1d2 apprentices. That's fun. 2 cells with gold and weapons, trigger cells to close. And sleeping glass seeps out of those in cell. DC 15 con, or put to sleep. All right, so how I see this room playing out is there's no wall here like we had before, but they're going to come in here. There's 2 more prisoners here. They were captured and re-put in here after they escaped from this prison cell. In here, there's a chest, which will have treasure in it, but it's rigged to have gas come out of it. And here is a suit of armor, which is rigged to come alive if the gas is released. There's also a magical warning that would warn 1d2 apprentices and 1d4 bandits to join the fray. They're going to come around this corner. So this is a secret entrance here. And if they are defeated and look up there, they're going to see nothing. When they investigate it, they will find that this leads to a set of stairs, which is going to go up to the mansion above. I don't think I need to draw out the mansion right now. I think this is a good start, but I think it hits everything that we're looking for. So to recap, we have in the 5-room dungeon format, an entrance and guardian. There will be 1d4 guards here. This room also has an enfeebling magic on it. So spell casting checks are going to have an additional DC of 3, and there's going to be a critical failure on a 2. In this cell, we have an injured halfling named Willy. He's the grave digger, and he's been put in here for stealing things, right? So a pretty minor crime compared to maybe what everyone else in this dungeon has been accused of. If the players investigate these cells, they're going to find a secret door here. And Willy's going to know that people seem to be coming and going a lot, and that a lot of these cells sometimes they seem to be open and closed randomly for no reason by the guards. So they find out that if this cell is completely open, this cell is halfway open, and this cell is closed, it's going to unlock this secret entrance here. If they go through it into this section, they go left, they're just going to find a passageway, which used to be a secret entrance that was disguised as the sewer, but it's collapsed. So nothing really to see there, except for maybe some faint footprints that seem to be going in this direction. But it doesn't look like the collapse is very recent. If they go off to the right and kind of wind around for a while, they're going to end up at a door, which is the living area of, now these are no longer guards, but these are going to be members of the organization which have taken control of the city from Lord Percy and the rightful government, and are using him as a sort of puppet government. These are living quarters, some bunks, a toilet. A door opens up into a dining room, and then also a makeshift kitchen. So room 1, the entrance, this is going back to the 5-room dungeon idea. The entrance is room 1. This puzzle is sort of the idea of room 2, where they have to solve it. This is also kind of the puzzle too, because it'll come back into play later. But right now there's a dead end here, but that comes into play over in this area here. So the room 3 idea is a trick or setback. So part of the setback is having another encounter with bad guys in here. We determined that was going to have 1d4 pirates in this room, and then another 1d4, and these are the pirate stat block in this room. If people continue to go through this door, if the party does, they're going to find a 3-way split in the hallway. So if they go in this far left direction, they're just going to find themselves walking back up this way. It's just a long hallway, and all of a sudden they're going to be back at the intersection of the road here. If they go up the center one, they're going to come across 2 cells, one of which is open, and the second one is going to have 2 of the guys they are trying to rescue in it, but they're still locked. Those 2 guys can tell them there were 2 other guys in this one, but they escaped a few days ago and they haven't heard back. If they continue down this way, again, they're going to find themselves walking down this. So it's a trap that's crude because it doesn't really do damage or anything, but it does set you back along this path there. And then finally, and you know what? This makes sense. These 2 escaped and went up this way, and that's why there are some fresher footprints in the dust here. And then finally, if they go back this direction, they're going to find the final room, the major hazard, which has in terrain. So there's going to be 5 prison cells here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the far right, there's nothing. In these 2, they're going to be prisoners that they were looking for, and those are going to be shut. And in these 2, these are going to be open. There's a suit of armor here. And I actually don't think the suit of armor is going to be fully assembled. It's going to be in pieces. Like there's a helmet and a breastplate and a sword and a shield, right? And if this chest is opened, there's going to be some treasure in it, but also it's going to let out sleeping gas and then shut these doors. So they're going to have to make a check if anyone is in this room to not fall asleep. And they're also going to be stuck, which is going to prevent them from battling this armor that comes to life. It's going to instantaneously, more or less, assemble and start attacking the party. This magic is going to trigger 1d2 apprentices and 1d4 bandits to come rushing around this hallway and join the fray. They're going to be the ones that have keys to these two up here. Now, if the players journey up here, they're going to find that there's nothing there. But if they look hard enough, they're going to be able to find it's a secret door. That's going to lead up to Lord Percy's mansion. So that's going to be the area. Room 4, the climax, battle or conflict. In room 5 is a reward revelation or plot twist. They're going to get rewards because they're going to get some gold here. And of course, they'll get whatever this armor is made of. And then the plot twist is, oh, this leads to the mansion. That's kind of weird. Why would the mansion have an entrance to this weird dungeon that also has entrance to the prison? So I'm feeling pretty good about that. I can definitely improve this map. And I actually don't even know if I'm going to use a map. I'll probably just play it theater of the mind. But it does help me to sketch it out on paper so I can have a better mental image when I'm describing it. And that is how you build a dungeon using the idea of a 5-room dungeon and the roll tables and rules for Shadowdark RPG. If you have any ideas for how you would run this dungeon, or you have any questions about building out dungeons using Shadowdark, feel free to leave those in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. If you like this video, do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe buttons. You can also find more ways to follow Night Noon Games down below in the video description. There you can find links to my newsletter, and for signing up, I'll get you some free Dragon Turtle lore. And you can also follow me on Itch or Twitter or Instagram. I'm pretty much wherever. So until our next adventure, stay inspired and keep those dice rolling. Thanks for watching.